Hi, my name is Vishal and I'm a senior trainer in multimedia education. I have 18 years of industry experience and let's get started with the video. Hello guys, in this video let's have a look on the fill of the layers palette. So I'll just let you know what exactly that means is. Right now I have got a default sphere which was a sample of Substance Painter. So I'm in the layers palette here and you should able to see several features on the top of this layers palette. There were some layers which were default. I've deleted all of them to start from the scratch. So this is add fill layer, so we'll talk about that. So if I just click that fill layer, it adds a fill layer, and this layer is spread across all the material properties of the material which you have taken. So right now it has got a material which has got material properties of color, height, roughness, metalness, normal, anisotropic angle and level. So you could see all that features. So when I've added the fill here, so it has kept this layer on in all that areas, so all that material properties. So let's say I just wanted only this to affect the color of the shader. You can switch off that, and then you could see that features which are there here getting disappeared by switching them off. Okay, now if you could see, there is only base color here. There is nothing else apart from the color. So there's no height attribute, there is no roughness attribute and all. So if I bring it back, then you get all that attributes on. Okay, so what you do, any change in that particular area, the objects start turning into that behavior. Let's say we have this base color. Okay, just click on the color swatch here and then start picking some color there. So I'm just picking some nice yellow color, and then what I do is I just see the metalness attribute. Okay, so metalness attribute, when I crank it up completely, the object start turning into a metallic object. Okay, so you should able to see. You can go to Windows display settings and then change the HDR map which is illuminating this particular scene. Okay, you can choose something else and then you get that result there. So it's affecting. You can hold shift and right click and rotate the HDR map to suit your current requirement. Okay, so once that is done, you can also increase the roughness, and then you have the anisotropic level. Okay, you can make it anisotropy. I'll just make it slightly rough. It's way too long. Just okay, you can start rotating the angle of the anisotropy there. So this is all how you can generally take control over things. So I'll just switch off everything here and then try to explore how this overall thing can help you in texture painting things. So we have several options in the fill section of the properties window. So firstly, there is a material mode. So if I click that, it will just bring up to a material section, and then you can choose any material here, and then that material is applied to all that attributes which are there across here. Okay, so let me delete that layer and then click a new layer and then choose the aluminum, or maybe I'll choose this one. Then you should able to see that effect is applied on the final result. Okay, so that's one thing about the material mode which you can select there. If not, you can go to the base color and then change the color to whatever you wanted it to look like. Okay, and then make it look glossy, or you can make it slightly rough, and then you get the result there. Okay, so what else I can do with the base layer here is, when you click here, it's asking to either pick procedurals or textures. Okay, so if you go to the shelf here, which is there in the below, you have all, which is basically all elements of the Substance Painter is listed, no matter whether it is texture or alpha or normal map, whatever. So if you select the project, all project related files are there here. So if I just start clicking any random thing, you get all related features popping up here. So I want procedurals, and you could see procedural textures here. Now procedural texture is it's like a small sub program of any software, where it will allow you to custom edit that pattern. Let's say if I randomly pick this one, BNW or black and white spots, and then drag it on top of the base color, you should able to see that noise came here, the black and white spots texture. So these textures can be created in Substance Designer, and then you can publish it here. And here what you, as I told, this procedural textures is a small sub program which will allow you to, I'll just go and then increase the roughness for time being, just to see the texture clearly, and then go back, and you have some parameters for that particular black and white spots. You got this button called random. So when you click that, the values change to some random number, something else you want. Just let's say you have added this texture 2 times, and 2 times you got same thing, then you just click it and it will change the position, the values and all that. Okay, you have attributes which are very specific to that particular texture you have picked. So you have balance here, okay, which is controlling the total, it's like color correction, it's shifting the total values. You could see the white becoming plateau, and when I reduce it, you could see the black is cutting off. You get some speckle sort of texture. Let me put the value to 0.5 back. You have contrast. I can increase the contrast. You know what the contrast by definition is, you can check. You have scale options. You can scale the texture. So it's integer right now. I could directly change it to 2, 3 and so on. And you have disorder, which is changing the pattern again. And again, these attributes are very specific to your texture which you have picked. Okay, so if I just click this button here, it will remove that texture from there. As you could see, there are a lot of textures here, and you have the options. Tile is repeating the number of tiles, which is making the texture small, and you have the border width. So it is very good to create some textures, especially for cloths, shoe, leather bags, roof tiles, wherever you want. So you have 2 options for this particular thing. So you can excuse me. So you can explore all these textures what you have inside this procedurals. It's a big collection of textures you have, and you can create wonderful results. And I was talking about the textures. Textures are just simple images which you can generally bring into your project. So it's very simple. Just the image what I have got with me is a texture for me. So I can bring it by just dragging and dropping into the shelf. Once that is done, you need to tell one thing. What is this? Is it alpha? Is it a LUT lookup table? Is it an environment or a texture? So I'm saying this is a texture. Okay, if you have HDR map, you can bring your own HDR map, drop it. So I'm saying this is a texture, and I want to bring it to the current session, which is right now the work which I'm working. So when I say import and then select the textures, you should get that texture here. Okay, so we have this base color, and then just dropping it here, and then you should able to see the texture on my particular model. So we have I'll just switch to 2D and 3D, and you should able to see this is the UV tile. Okay, if you could see that tile is perfectly fitting, and the reason is the texture what I have taken here is fit into 01 region of the UVs. As you are aware that you have multiple tiles outside this particular interface. Okay, if you are well versed with UV unwrapping and all, you should know it. So you have a tile 2, tile 3, tile 4, and it's there. So if I say I don't want to repeat, you don't have tiles here. Okay, so it doesn't show up the tile repeating up there at all. It's very useful when you are bringing decals and or any images and you don't want them to repeat. You can generally use this method and then scale it and then place it where you wanted it to be. Okay, so if I just say repeat, it will repeat it in the horizontal direction and the vertical direction. And if I say repeat only horizontal side, it will repeat in the width. If I say repeat vertically, it repeats in the vertical direction. So I'll just say repeat none, so it will be specifically placed there, and the default is repeat. So you got that tiles getting repeated. So when I'm scaling this tile, okay, or when I'm moving this tile, okay, and then rotating this tile, you're getting the effect seen on the model, and all these options are there here for you. So you should able to see here that we have the scale, we have scale value. I can put a value of 4, and I can put a value of 4. So if I click this log button, if I generally enter a value, it gets affected to the width and height. So proportional scaling you want, you switch on the lock. If you want non-proportional scaling, you can switch it off. You have the rotation, which rotates your object. Just you need to drag that value, and as I told you, I can just enter numerical values here. Just say 90 degrees, it rotates 90 degrees, and you can place it wherever you wanted it to be. Okay, so we have offset, which is basically moving the object. Okay, offset is moving. Let's say if I say offset, the texture starts moving in the UV space, and I put the offset value to 0 and then scale value to 1. Okay, so that's how this UV projection and repeat will do. And we have filtering, which is basically the pixel filtering of the texture what you have got. Bilinear high quality is defaultly suggested filtering method. You can choose sharp if you have some high frequency details and you don't want to lose the details, and nearest is not accurate one, it compromises the quality. So I preferably choose HQ, bilinear. And let's say if I take any texture, okay, so I've opened a different file, which is again a sample file. I'm just hiding the objects. One is the base and another one is the head. I'm selecting the body and I'm applying the texture, which is again some noisy texture, or maybe I can choose something like this into the base, sorry. And then you should able to see okay, you should able to see the base color. I'm adding a texture, and you should able to see the texture here. And see here, I got a seam line, and this is because the texture what is applied on this particular object is a very traditional way. It is generally seeing the UV placements of this object, and it's applying the texture, so it's flatly just on to this particular tile. Now what happened here is, if you could see, there's a texture here, and this opposite side is here, and the continuity is missing, and that's the reason you got the seam issue. So in this case, let's say you're using any procedurals and you want to get rid of such seams. I use this nice projection method called triplanar projection. Triplanar projection will project the texture from 3 different planes, which is right now happening on this object. I know this is a better solution, but it's not a refined solution. And whenever I'm using noise, and I generally overcome the problems what I'm getting here. Okay, you have all the transformations of that projection, which is basically moving the texture, and you can also rotate the texture, not the texture but the place projection handle, which is projecting textures from all 3 sides. So if I press W on the keyboard, it generally transforms the texture. I can generally move it up and down, left and right. When I press E, it brings up rotation tool, and you can able to rotate the texture, and press R, you can scale the texture if you wanted. So it's projecting a texture from 3 different axes, and you want control of that particular attribute. You can just go here, which are just now popped up after I have changed my projection type to triplanar projection. So we have fill match per UV tile. Now what that actually means, this is a little bit advanced technique used to apply high quality textures. Let's say there is a concept called UDIM or UDIMs. The UVs of one object is not just placed in one tile, rather they are placed in this tile, and you get that UDIMs placed, which is having a series of 1001, 1002, 3, 4, and it goes on till 10, and then you get 1011, 1012. It's like that. You can just check that UDIM tiles. Now once UDIM workflow is there with you, and you have brought maybe a normal map from ZBrush, which is also a UDIM tile. That means one texture is in a sequence, Mari sequence, like 1001, 1002, 03, 04, and so on. Now you imported that series, then you need to just say match per UV tile, and then it will take one tile 1001 here, and it will take 1002, which is the second tile. Okay, which takes, you get a different texture in the different tile. Let's say you put a UV projection, this image is same there in the second, third, fourth tiles. So fill match is basically when you're playing with UDIM workflow. And we have a planar projection, which basically projects the textures. So I'll just drop this substance here, and then you should able to see that texture, which is projected on the model. Okay, so it has got some set of options. One is projection cropped to the shape, and extends outside the shape. And when I select this projection and then move it from the object, you could able to see the texture is not on the object because of the projection placement. Projection placement is very far from the object. When I move it close to the object, when the bounding box of the projection handle is touching the surface, you start seeing the texture there. Okay, like that. So if you see, there is a fade off effect. Okay, this is happening because of the hardness. So I can just increase the hardness here, and then you can see that cut out there. So, and you have the extends to the outside. Now you should able to see it's showing the texture outside this handle also throughout the model. Okay, which was not there in the cropped way. So when you are bringing up decals and you don't want them to be what I meant to say, it should not be there outside, it should not be repeated, or it should not be there on the back. So you can generally avoid that. Okay, just trying to place it as close as possible to the surface of the projection, so it's not there on the back. Generally we get this issue. You get texture on both sides, so this should be a better way to put the decals on your object. And we have spherical projection, which projects the texture in a sphere shape. Again, it is more suitable for round objects, like you want to project earth texture on a sphere, then spherical projection will do the job for you. It's a great handle, okay, projection method again. So you can use your move tool, you can select the rotation tool, scale tool, and also you can control them from the properties which are given below.